Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our first 2026 DDC meeting. And if you're just joining, please put your full name and district in the chat if you haven't already. And then mute your microphone, turn your camera off to save on bandwidth. So the meeting is being recorded, and we'll, of course, share it after, as we always do. All right. So, our agenda today, we are going to go over the due dates and timelines, updates and reminders, what's new, looking ahead, and if we have time for questions, otherwise you can always enter them in the chat as we're going through. Okay, so thanks for joining. So due dates and timelines, we're going to start with, we do have several dates of interest this month that we want to highlight for January and February. So before we get started, just note the links at the top. If you're new to our DDC meeting, we have the 25-26 SIRS timeline, the reporting roadmap, we call it, the Gantt chart, which has that visual timeline for the year, and our import schedule. So if you haven't done so already, make sure to bookmark those. And like I said, we're going to share those assets after, so you'll be able to link everything. So starting with January 14th, it is the last date to submit data populating for the VR 1 to 9, which is known as the bed snapshot, and Sarah will talk about that in a little bit. Also on the 14th is the deadline for the first submission of the SE events, special ed events, ranging from July 1st to September 30th. So those SE events are now collected quarterly with additional collections in April, July, and September. So just be sure to migrate your SE events regularly. January 20th, we have the deadline, and that's for the districts to certify the bed snapshot, and that's the VR 1 to 6 and 8 in the PD system. The VR 7 and 9, they do not need to be certified. Now, typically those certifications are Mondays, but the 19th is a holiday this year, so that is why it's January 20th, which is a Tuesday. Also, we have on the 21st of January, we do have three big preliminary polls coming up. We have the digital resources, the course instructor assignment, and that student class entry exit. So the CIA and the SCEE data is going to be used for OSA to determine counts of students enrolled in courses leading to state assessments. So we want to make sure those are updated. And to help you with that verification, while verification should always be done on level 2, there is a level 1 report for the CIA and the SCEE that can help you look at that data easily. So on the 28th of January, that's our standing monthly deadline for those domains listed. And then also we have the NYSASLOT standalone field test data is due. So schools administering that standalone field test, you want to ensure that you have the demographics, enrollment, and program service data for those eligible students updated. So those with that 0231 eligible program service. Now, NYSED, I did check this morning. I didn't see a released list of schools yet for the field test. So it's just a good opportunity to make sure, that your L data is up to date and accurate for everyone. So February 18th, level ones want to have the enrollment, program service, and demographics again updated. And this is going to be for the operational ELA math and science to have that for that data poll. And then February 25th, we have a few deadlines in there. So that's for the operational NYSA slot to have the demographics, enrollment, and programs again updated. And then for the financial transparency, that's the last date for that data collection. And then we have our monthly domains that are always due, as usual, that are listed here. And then don't forget this last one. It's the initial student for the enrollment, address, FERPL, homeless, foster, and migrant data. And all that data is going to be used for the summer EBT 2026 benefits. So that's very important to make sure that your data is up to date. All right, so I don't see any questions, so I'm going to move on to updates and reminders. And our first guest speaker is Sarah Liner.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Sam. So, I only have one reminder for you guys. It is one that Sam just touched on, but it's what's happening this month in the special ed world. So, I just want to emphasize this. This is your bed stay reminder, the last reminder you will get at this DDC meeting for special ed. The VRs 1 through 9, VRs 1 through 6, and 8 are the only ones that require certification. Your certification date is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. So keep that in mind. That means your last date to migrate this data from level 0 is Wednesday, January 14th. For your special ed office staff, that means that all of their data must be corrected in Frontline before that migration date. So if you're still seeing errors in level 0 as of now, and as we get closer to this migration date, make sure you're reaching out to your special ed office staff, communicating with them, making sure they know that these errors are persisting, and also continue to migrate routinely for them because they're probably checking the PD system about this time. So they're going to want to see that data refreshed as much as possible. If there's anybody missing, that just helps mitigate that whole process. So keep that in mind. That's all I have for you this month, but you'll hear from me shortly when we get to the end of year stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And this is their contact information. All right, so moving over quickly to John Zayotis. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mia Mercado is presenting today from Testing Services.
All right, good morning, everybody. So, just to start off, we're going to talk about January region since it's right around the corner. For your SMS files, make sure you're emailing the requests for those. You have to email them. If you don't, we may not get it because if you call, leave a voicemail, who if we don't get to it in time, stuff like that. And then for your contacts, it's the same as it's been for a bit, but John is A through K, Lori is L through P, and I am R through Z. So just send us an email or email the test contacts email, and then all of us will see it and then make sure it gets to the right person. And then for once the Regents is over, we will reach out to you about the physics region scores as well as any major life exemptions that need to be reported. So you'll look for an email from us after the fact. And then for 3 to 8 CBT simulation, the students' classes and test tabs have opened in Nextera. So if you're missing any students and you can't add them, you can contact me for Dutchess County, John for Orange, and for Sullivan and Ulster, you can contact Lori, which I think that's also the same from last year. And as well as you can add your accommodations starting now. And for the login tickets, just make sure you're printing them after you've done the accommodations. Because if you print them and then add them, it's not going to be there. And then the simulation is going to run from the 26th of this month to February 6th. All schools must participate in the simulation for at least one grade in one content area. All right. And then last for the 3 to 8 paper, we sent out an email yesterday for spreadsheets for any students that have accommodations or for alternate languages. The spreadsheet is due back 30th. You can either put it in File Cloud or you can email to us, but make sure it's encrypted. And then also for NYSA slot, the demographics enrollment and the program data is due to level 2 by the 30th. And for the ELL eligible records and the L programs, those you have to make sure those are imported to level 0 and migrated to level 1 by January 28th to make sure they make the extract as well. And that's just for like the codes for like the English as a new language and stuff like that. So if you just make sure that is done beforehand as well, just to make sure all of that is in for the answer sheets and the extracts and stuff like that. And I think that's all we have for you. So if you have any questions, this is our email, our number as well. Reach out. We're always available, at least one of us.
Thank you, Mia.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move over to the data collection and reporting, and I'm going to pass it over to Pam.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Just a reminder there were several folks that joined the meeting during our initial overview and presentations. And if you have not done so, please sign into the chat. And Sam, if you can keep an eye on the participants, because I still see some coming in.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, well, I'm back, and here's our familiar error tracking slide. We have some good news and some not so good. This is an ongoing process. If you ever get all the counts to zero, well, I'm not sure what I'll do, but I'll be surprised. But our aim is to keep these numbers going in the appropriate directions as much as possible. And so from the December 30th L1C error report, there were over 1,400 errors, which is up from the previous amount. Keep in mind that these 1,488 records are not at level 2. So if the records pertain to your Beds Day data collection, they will not be included in the January snapshot. The good news is warning messages are down a bit. Reviewing the L1C errors should be a part of your routine process after importing and migration, although you do have to wait for the overnight data move. We will look at a breakdown of these counts in just a moment. The next item on our list is the NYSIS hold queue. There are currently 4 students on the queue, which is the same as last month. I've been involved with a couple of these, and we are waiting for changes outside of our control, but keep reviewing these as they come up. And procedurally, what you want to make sure is that you are included when these notifications are being sent to your district, and it may be your district superintendent that gets notified when an item is placed on that queue. So you want to make sure that your process is in place that these can get resolved. Again, these students will not appear in your level 2 reports. And finally, from January 6th, which was yesterday, the Student Digital Resources Report at level 0 shows continued slow improvement, but one district went from reporting 69% to reporting 0%. And this is just, a reminder to make sure that those imports and migrations are actually moving your data, that there's not something happening that the data gets left behind. There are still 16 districts with no data, and as Sam mentioned earlier, the data will be pulled on January 21st, so please keep working to improve this collection. And a few more notes on student digital resources on our next slide. SED recently released the 24-25 student digital resources data at the public data site. And a message from SED, as a reminder, public school districts and charter schools are required to conduct an annual survey concerning student home digital resources and internet access. This is required by the commissioner's regulations, and it's not going away. So please work to collect this data and report it. We realize it is a difficult collection to do. And should you wish to compare your data to other districts or regions, the statewide database linked to here, which is also known as the researcher data file, is available via downloads on the public data site. Also available is the glossary and guide. The important takeaway here is that this is a required collection. Should you look at the statewide data, you will see that districts struggle with this collection across the state. We encourage you to spend time on creating a process with the best chance for successful collection of this data. Okay. And for your assistance in this area, we have a quick reference guide, a brand new one, on our website. The link is here. So if you would like to see some tips and hints on how to go about this and what the requirements are, please take a look at that, and maybe you'll get some helpful ideas to help with this process. Okay. So going back to the level 1C errors, Let's take a look at the details of those 1,488 messages, which is up from 375. Some specific details are there. The biggest area of increase in errors is in missing attendance. It's up to 1,300, up from 120. These could be related to missing calendars or incorrect day calendar types. Given that we've just had holiday periods and whatnot, I would suggest that you might want to take a look at your day types during your winter break and holidays to ensure that those day types are reported correctly so that the attendance can be reported as well. Good news from the UPK area. We had the new codes this year and we were running around 116 errors in that area. We're down to 1. So, you know, it's good also to see that we do make progress. And we have across domains, let's say within enrollment, you report an enrollment record, but you don't have a valid demographic record, or you report an attendance record, but there's no valid demographic record. So there's 92 of those instances where you report something else, but you don't have a valid demographic record. So you want to clean up those errors because they're just indicative that the data is not accurate in that area. For the missing CIA, we're down to 0, but we did have a deadline where student class entry exit records were, or a coming up deadline for student class entry exit records. And in order to migrate those domains, you may have deleted errors in student class entry exit just to get that domain data to move the rest of the data. And if that is the case, you'll want to go back and take a look at those errors that were deleted because they're indicative of the fact that your course instructor assignment records are not complete. And then since we have a January pull for that, we want to make sure that we get that all on track. Okay, so those are the errors. And again, this is not a complete list of all the level 1C errors. These are the more common ones. Your district may have some additional ones as well. So you want to take a look at that level 1C report. And finally, details on the level 1C warnings as of December 30th. We're at 7,994, which is down from 9,000. That's the right direction. We still have 16 crisis impact code records that are being flagged. The crisis impact code can only be reported in the initial year where the student arrives from, due to a crisis. So those 16 errors are, in fact, errors and should, they're warning messages, but they are, in fact, not reported accurately. So take a look at your report. We have still 89. We're right in the same vicinity. We did have 90 before of grade 9 entry date mismatches. Please take a look at that at your earliest convenience. Entry exit code errors. Where we have a grade 9 entry date for a student who is in grade 7 or 8, that certainly should be cleaned up. It's a possibility that a student did enter grade 9 and then revert back to grade 8. So there's a possibility that there could be one valid or so entry in that area. But in general, 45 would be, an excessive amount of students in grade 7 or 8. So that have a grade 9 date. Staff snapshot. These are the name mismatches. Again, take a look at them, specifically at staff who are reported with a mismatch of both the first and last name to ensure that the Teach ID is reported accurately. Program records, we're down a little bit. Our the error that says the service provider beds code does not match the location code has improved slightly in both last month and the month before. Please keep working on that. And the other hint we would have here is that for those that you can proactively put a plan in place for next year so that you don't have to deal with those errors mid-year. for example, students who move from elementary school to middle school who are ELL, their ELL program will need to be ended and a new one started with their new location. Okay. The eligible for alternate assessment, we still have 97 students who are reported as eligible for alternate assessment, but do not have an ungraded grade level. This does need to be cleaned up, but we've discussed that before. And our numbers are looking a little better in regard to the foster and homeless students who do not have a free lunch record, but that can continue to improve as well. And in the area of ELL students, we have 46 students who are reported as ELL eligible but do not have a program record reported. So in that case, if you have a student who is ELL eligible but is not receiving services for some reason, there is a program code that says eligible but not in a program. And that record should be reported if they are not actually receiving services. And we have 2 students who have a program code but not an eligibility code. So again, it's cleanup in this area. And the one area that really needs to be taken a serious look at for ELL is that there are 34 students who are reported as ELL who achieved proficiency in a prior school year. So those certainly should be reviewed. And keep in mind, as I mentioned a moment ago, this is not a comprehensive list of all L1C errors. We are bringing common issues with significant errors to your attention. Many of these errors may also be reported as informational errors in level 0, but not all of them will be. Some only appear as informational and some only appear as L1C errors. So it's important to review both sources to clean up the data. And also know that we are here to assist and put a second set of eyes on things if you get stumped on any particular situation. Okay, and moving on, I'm not looking at the chat, but it doesn't look like there are any questions so far because, all right, so moving on to the next thing. This is just an FYI. There was recently a release of additional data in the state report card, and we thought we'd like to take a moment to pass on this particular piece of information based on a question that we get asked frequently. Where does the data come from? And it is often vital for administrators and data coordinators to understand the direct pipeline between the information you report and the final metrics published by the state. To provide that clarity, we currently have the most recent crosswalk is from 22, 23, 24, and it shows where the data comes from and what reports it is included in. So the link is here if you want to take a look at that. It may provide some additional information outside the scope of what you work with daily, but it may be interesting when asked to generate a report to know where your data is coming from. Okay, and on to the next part. Okay, so we were asked to pass along the following messages from New York State Ed. The situations described in these next slides may or may not occur in your district, but due to the potential impact on funding to your district, you should spend some time reviewing how this plays out for you. Okay, State Ed is detecting significant areas of errors across the state. Okay, so many issues had been identified. This is verbatim what came from State Ed. Many issues have been identified with public school districts reporting enrollments for their students being placed in other locations for services and instruction. This has resulted in many significant fiscal problems, loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars in most cases, such as foundation aid, tuition reimbursement, private excess cost aid, BOCES aid, building aid, transportation aid, and out-of-state tuition reimbursement. depending on the type of placement and services provided. SED reminds us the purpose of reporting data to New York State Student Information Repository System is to provide the State Education Department with accurate, standardized student-level information that supports accountability, funding, compliance, and educational improvement across charter schools and public school districts. It's the 0011 enrollment that holds the key for all of this to happen. However, there are three major enrollment codes that are mentioned on the next few slides that should be reviewed. The 0011, the 0055, which is instructional responsibility, and the 5905, which is the CSE responsibility enrollment code. So you can see the link here. There's some information on STAC, which is not something that we as DDCs typically get involved in, but your special ed department is probably very familiar with that. So you can look for additional information by following that link. The next slide. This lists the reporting requirements based on the most common situations that are causing errors. We took that information and we put it into tabular form so that it will be a little bit, for me, it's certainly a little bit easier to look at. So the next slide, Sam, shows that same information, but in tabular form. And you may notice that it has similar information to the table of reporting responsibilities in the SERS manual, and it is essentially a subset of what you can find there as well. There are two additional slides from SED. The next one, which this slide shows the potential financial implications of inaccurate data, which can impact, as I mentioned before, foundation aid, categorical aid, BOCES aid, et cetera. So this slide then in tabular form comes next. Now I realize I'm going through these relatively quickly. I think this is something that you need to review and digest. We know we work with the enrollment codes all the time, and a lot of this is going to be familiar information to you. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you where you want to start looking to see if there's any particular issues within your district. Okay, so the final point, and this is probably the most significant, is the district of residence. Okay. While these codes may seem like a small detail, they carry significant weight for your district's bottom line. Per the reporting guidelines, every student must be reported with a district of residence code, and this impacts state aid for textbooks, transportation, and should be reported with the district of residence on BEDS Day. Okay, a common point of confusion occurs when a student moves shortly after the fall reporting window. If a student moves after BEDS Day, the new district must report them using their unique code, however, for state aid and BEDS enrollment totals, the student is always counted in the district where they resided on BEDS Day of that school year. Okay, and there's some additional information on that slide as well. And then the next slide shows in tabular form that same information. So I promised you a moment ago that I'd tell you where to go with this. So what should you do? We highly recommend checking the SERS 701, the UIAS report, and the newly enhanced SERS 657, the annual enrollment discrepancy report summary report. The SERS 657 report will show discrepancies between the 0011 enrollment reported by the district or charter school and the 0055 enrollment and the 5905 enrollments that are reported. Discrepancies could be in the location that they're reported in different locations, or it could be that they're reported with different grade levels. We see the grade levels frequently, that they get out of sync with students who are, perhaps attending an out-of-district placement full-time and have been there for years, that they somehow get out of sync between the district and the placement. So those should obviously be corrected. And corrections may may need to occur in the district or at the out of district or 0055 location. So the districts may need to be reaching out to those locations to resolve any of those discrepancies. The district of residence code also should align, given the beds day parameter that I just mentioned. I'm not showing any examples here because, as you can see, there's so many variations on what should be reviewed, starting with the foundation of those reports. If I going through an example of one situation, it may not apply at all to most of the districts. So the best approach that we recommend is that you take a look at those reports. If you can resolve the issues, that's fine, but don't worry, we are here to assist. So if you get stuck in any of those, any analysis of those items that are reported for your district, please don't hesitate to email us at datawarehouse@mhric.org. One final note in this area is omissions. And these, of course, as always, are difficult to find. So talk with your special ed folks to see if there are any students that may need to be reported who are not included. The varied circumstances sometimes make it confusing, but remember, we're here to support you and help as needed. Okay. I saw a question.
Yes, so I have a few. So Karen, we will be sharing the slide deck and recording. Usually we do that in the Data News newsletter in the coming days. I don't have an exact day or time, but we will absolutely be sharing it out. And then Steve had a question for you, Pam, about a UPK location that reports their students as 0011. Personally, I think we might want to look into the actual
Yeah.
specific students if he could email us, if you agree.
Yes, Steve, if you could just send specifics like student ID.
Yes.
My gut says that the 001 is correct, but I don't want to put that down as a final answer at this point. So just send that along and
We'll take a
take a
look.
look at it. Okay.
And
And Jamie, the SIRS 657 has been refreshed. Actually, that's a good point. Jamie questioned whether SIRS 657 has been updated for 25-26 yet. As with many level 2 reports, if you do not have any records that need to be reported in that report, it will look like that year will not appear on your dropdown. So Jamie, I will double check, but perhaps the good news is that you do not have any discrepancies at this point. So I like that answer. Yeah, I knew you would, Jamie.
yeah. All
So
right.
and as far as going back to Sam's answer about distributing the resources, this is an ongoing, this is not an imminent request from state ed. So we will get this out to you as soon as possible, but you do have time to react to this. But you can start with those reports and clean them up, and then if you have any, Jamie, and then you'll get the information, the additional information later on. So not too far on. Okay, now
Thank you.
that's next. Okay, all right. You may notice that when you drill down into a report, the subgroup data no longer appears automatically. To see that level of detail, you must now manually select yes in the display ancillary data criteria field. We're bringing this up because one district reached out recently thinking that subgroup data was missing from the SIRS 313, and it wasn't actually missing, it just wasn't toggled on. New York State Ed is adding this option to more reports. This came out of the L2RPT work group suggestions, in that oftentimes that data is not required, and several districts said, well, the first thing I do is delete all those columns so that I can see everything, so I have the horizontal real estate that I can see all the columns that I really want. So they took that group of columns and they made it toggle on or off. So just be aware that if you're looking for it and it's not there, you just need to run the report saying yes. Okay. And we are continuing that the level 2 work group is continuing with its work. It was somewhat suspended because of new reports that were required at the end of last year, but that's an ongoing effort, and you will probably see this particular toggle filter on all level 2 reports eventually. Okay, next. This is just another FY. Nope, wait. Go back.
Oh yeah, sorry, hold on.
That's next.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, this is just another
Thank you.
FYI on the service manual. We periodically get updates. I think we're up to number 4 this year. And just a little hint, they started doing this, I think it was in April of last year, where in the list of changes for each release, there are now hyperlinks that take you to where that change is, and you will see that change highlighted in cyan. The only thing that annoys me is that there's not a go back to the list so that I can go to the next one, but it's still a little bit better than having to scroll through the whole manual, searching for highlights to read what's new or what's been changed. So that's just a little FYI, little tip. And I think that's all I have. And thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay.
Okay, so next we want to highlight some important updates to the law form. So we recently updated the form so you can easily find it in our resource library as usual or through the link on the slide once we share the assets. When you open the new version, you're going to notice there are 3 new fields, school year, physical address, and a section for any additional information you want to provide. So these additions will help us when we're creating those new locations from the start so we have as much information as possible. So if you're new to the app or you just want a refresher like on the process, we've included the law video tutorial here as well. So I recommend bookmarking it once you have the link so that you can have it ready whenever you need a new location. And this is what it looks like in the data warehouse resource library on our website. So it can be found under the collapse section called Location Add App Law. And just remember to access the resource library, you will need that passkey of Get Me In DDC. Okay, so we want to highlight also a significant update to one of our primary resources on the NYSED website. And they continue to update the NYSED website, so several links are being refreshed. So there is a new link for the level 2 resources and information site. And this is typically like a central hub for like certain guidance, report guides, especially timelines, certification. So your prior links may no longer work. It may redirect you, but just make sure that you are going to bookmark this in the browser so you have it when you need it for next time. Okay. So I don't see any questions. So I'm going to move on. So if your district is planning a building, grade, or name change in the 26-27 school year, the public school registration process, this is annually, it's the same thing, nothing's changed with it. It is open now. The deadline is March 2nd. 2026. So that will come up pretty quick. So start thinking about, if you haven't already, if there's any building, grade, or name changes for your district. And I've also linked here the memo, the website that has all the information that you'll need on it and any needed forms. And the email also for the PSR NYSED department if you have any specific questions for them. All right, so this is just a quick reminder regarding our weekly migration deadline. So per NICEAD guidance, while data is refreshed daily, LEAs are required to report student enrollment, demographic, and program service at least once a week. So this is a big reason why we updated our import schedule this year to that weekly recommendation instead of the bi-weekly to help meet the state ed guidance. So our weekly migration deadline is still that noon at Wednesday, every Wednesday. Um, unless we formally communicate an exception due to like a holiday or a shift in the state's reporting timeline, which does happen sometimes. It's pretty rare, but does happen. So to help you stay on track, we have added this to the DDC timeline Google Calendar as well. And any adjustments to our import schedule will be also announced during our DDC meetings as usual. We'll also share it via email. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to our help desk email. Okay,
Sam?
yes, I
Sam?
see a
Back to the law form, and I may ask David to unmute. We are adding 2 school locations in airplanes. Would we use the fa la la form? I think he caught me.
yeah. Um so uh so if you're adding to, I mean, is he asking like a real question or is it just
David, you want to?
yeah.
No, I am not asking you.
Okay, I just want to make sure because
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
I couldn't help it.
that's okay. I just wanted to ask because if
I know it's like my brain started working on, well, what airplanes where?
no, I mean, it does bring up a good point though. Like if you do have 2 locations, you would have to put it in twice, for anybody that's new to the process.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Good luck.
Thank you for getting me out of my serious mode, Devin.
I know. Sometimes we're on like autopilot. Ha ha. Okay. So, all right. So no other questions there. We'll move on to student infraction. Now, last month we had a snow day, so we did our recording, which we shared. But I'm just going to go over 2 things that we shared last month briefly, just as a reminder, because they are pretty important. So the student infraction is a new collection. So we did create a microlearning tutorial. There's 3 modules for it. So if you're reporting, definitely review this. It has some helpful tips, FAQs, and NICEAD hasn't shared their FAQ yet with us, but once they do, I will link it in there, and we'll alert the district so that you know that it's in there and linked. So as with all new collections, State Ed just asks that the LEAs, do your best in reporting this first year as we navigate the requirements, because as questions arise, some things have changed as the year has progressed. So if you haven't already, review the microlearning modules because it will help with that student infraction response. And as of yesterday, for any school tool districts, I recall seeing there were some import errors due to an issue with a field. So I know Mindex was looking into it for us. And our student services team is looking into it for us, but we'll keep you apprised of any updates with that. So that was only school tool. Okay, so student behavioral interventions, again, same thing. Since we've discussed student infraction, I just wanted to take a moment to point out student behavioral interventions is different because there has been a lot of confusion with that. They are newer, both collections. They're similar, names, but they are very different, 2 different domains in level 0, and they have different guidance. So there is thank you, Mitch. Yes, so Mindex is working on that student infraction bug. Thank you so much for that update. Okay, so sorry, going back to student behavioral interventions. So why have one name for a domain when you can have multiple, right? So behavioral interventions is one of those cases where we have the multiple names referenced throughout different documentation, as shown on this slide, which does pose some confusion for this, but it is the purpose of the collection is to have timely reporting of those behavioral supports and interventions, including like restraint, timeout, punishment, etc. And to help you with that, we have also, again, a micro learning tutorial with that, and the link and the QR code are on the slide, and it has been added to our resource library on our website. So you still will need that Get Me in DDC passkey to access it, but this tutorial does focus on like key reporting fields, data flow, verification, and it helps you answer questions like when does when does an event need to be reported? Who's responsible? How do I verify this information? So by the end of the module, you'll be able to answer that question. And David, yes, exactly. So these are public. The micro learning tutorials, you can share those with your staff. We definitely recommend that for anybody that works with this kind of data. So, and all of our 7 TAPs, our micro learning tutorials, can be shared with your staff in your districts. Okay, so what's new? The January task list is now available. It was just made available yesterday due to the holiday. So for anybody that's new, it is a valuable resource. It has items to help you stay ahead of reporting requirements. So this month's spotlight is National Soup Month. I wanted to do something a little different. And for our BOCES folks, those BOCES specific tasks are highlighted in coral. So if you're wondering if something applies to a BOCES, you'll be able to see that in each section. And Pam spoke to the District of Residence earlier. That is actually our SIRS tip of the month within our task list as well. Yes, Pam.
I just read that comment in a different way. BOCES specific updates are now in Coral. The items that are in Coral, they're not only BOCES. I want to just emphasize that those updates or those tasks still apply to districts and charters as well. I don't want districts and charters to just say, oh, that's in Coral, I don't have to read it anymore.
So the task list actually has the sections, and it's like black font and the headers are blue. So those are all for districts and charters. And the coral is a specific note for BOCES.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so that they know if it applies to them or doesn't apply to
Okay.
them.
All right. I was
Yeah.
just reading it differently.
That's okay.
Wait a minute,
No,
I don't want districts skipping things.
no, absolutely not. So check it out, and this is linked as well. So once you get the assets, you'll be able to access that. Okay, so for January, we also have some level 1 report guides. We have 7 of them, and you will need these passkeys shared here. They're on the Data Warehouse Library and also the Testing Services link, and there are some specific to BOCES for the BOCES only folder. So if you're using those reports, definitely look into those. So while we're speaking about the Google Calendar earlier, it is within our resource library. So as you can see here, this is the January 2026 view. It has those key dates that we have covered today, including that weekly migration deadline, state ed reporting, for like digital resources, etc. So this is just a visual overview to help make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And one of the nice features of this tool is you can sync it with your own schedule. So you can click add to Google Calendar link at the bottom of the calendar. You could see here. It's very small, but you can see it. And it will add it to your personal view. So if we make any updates to it, which does happen, it'll appear in your own calendar. And you can also manipulate it. So if you want to see like schedule, day, month, etc., week, you'll be able to do that. So next, I just wanted to introduce you to the Performance-Based Learning and Assessment Networks, which is also known as PLAN. So this program is designed to help New York explore the conditions and support educators to shift in instructional practices and improve student outcomes through the use of multiple measures. And it is helping prepare for the new learning and graduation standards that are coming soon. So it was developed by NYSED in collaboration with educators, policymakers, etc. So we're excited to announce that the new plan pilot case studies are available, and it does include our Saugerties Senior High School. They're linked right on the slide. These are public sites, and so it does show that you know the research partners at University of Albany and Russell Sage College, and they report on the real world experiences in teachers and staff during the implementation phase. So there is a plan pilot video, and there is the Saugerties case study, which are both linked. So you could see like this change or shifts in action. And there is an option to also subscribe to the plan listserv if you just want to like learn more, or you can email the NYSED Plan Pilot department, and that link is also shared. So new things coming down the pike. All right, so I don't see any questions in the chat. So just looking ahead, what we have coming up. So for our February session, we are excited to announce we have a featured presenter, Jennifer Todd. She serves as the Education Program Manager, and she's the Director of PAR, Policy Analytics and Research at NYSED. So they're at the heart of policy metrics related to the accountability system. So some of you may have seen Jennifer at DayTag. So it's a great opportunity to hear directly from her regarding the vision and upcoming changes to the accountability. So we've also included some resources if you want to review them before our February session. There's the accountability website and also the webinar about understanding the 25-26 reporting resources for accountability. So if you have time, review those, and I think the session will definitely be valuable for us as we navigate these complex accountability data points and reporting requirements. All right, so let's see. We have another announcement. We are also pleased to announce in March for our DDC meeting, we're going to have Amy Shapiro, and she's the director of METS, the Mid-Hudson Migration Education Department. And she's going to provide some information regarding the Migrant Education Program. It is a federally funded supplemental program, and for our DDCs, we did have her visit last year as well to help us make sure that we're reporting accurately and supporting and implementing those services and supports for migratory children across the state. Okay, so this is our DDC meeting dates. If you haven't already signed up for all of them, we urge you to do so. So next time is February 3rd, Tuesday. And like I said, we'll share those assets after. So keep a lookout soon, and it will include a recording of today's session. And for our contacts for the specific departments, we always include this here so you have it for access. But I did want to point out a friendly reminder to reach out to us via our shared email of datawarehouse@mhric.org so that you get your answers in a timely manner, and it ensures service equity so that we're helping people in order of receipt, response times, and efficiency by contacting us at our group email, and either of us will reply via there.
Sam, you might want to hit, there we go.
Thank you.
There we go.
The enter button is not my friend today. All right, so our help desk schedule, while we're talking about the help desk, this is just a reminder of when we're open. Um, so like I said, they're replied to in order of receipt. Urgent matters are given priority. And we're closed on the weekends, so on Monday we will answer any emails that we get over the weekend. All right, so these are our just some of our resources to help you stay on track. So for any of our new DDCs, just make sure that you have these available, bookmark them so that you can find them when you need them in an easy way. All right, so we have 3 minutes. If there's any questions, let me see in the chat.
Chat is quiet.
Okay.
So.
And I did get a question. Somebody asked regarding level 1 visualizations, being able to export them to Excel. Unfortunately, no. There is, I think you can do a screenshot. There is an option to email, but that is not a option that is offered at this point for level 1. Sorry to say.
I just got the fa la la. FAA. I get it now.
Wait, you didn't get it this whole time?
I did not.
It feels like Monday. I know it's Tuesday, but
Well, why were you laughing then?
I was laughing because I knew somebody was pulling my leg somehow, but I didn't know how. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
okay. Well,
thank you for that this morning. I needed it.
yes, thank you, David. So our BOCES DDCs, our staff members, please stay on for this call. We're going to continue our BOCES conversations. And then just a reminder, February 3rd, 9 a.m. We will see you all then. Thank you for attending our very first 2026 DDC meeting. And contact us if you have any questions. We're here for you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and for the BOCES DDCs, I'm going to propose that we take a 5-minute